Hello, everyone. So thank you for having me on stage. Currently, I'm leading Becton Dickinson's automation COE. I currently lead the process automation strategy for BD. I have expertise in, have a technology background. I have expertise in middleware, API, RPA, data management. And previous to this role, I've been managing SAP technical landscape, data center migration, and mergers and acquisitions of IT landscapes. That's what I've been doing in life. A bit overview of Becton Dickinson. BD is a medtech company. We are over 75,000 employees, spread across 190 plus countries. We have at least like 45 billion devices we make annually, and we have $1 million R&D spending, and overall our revenue is around $20 billion. We use the automation success platform, what you see on screen, like it is an ecosystem that we have built with automation platform, like intelligent apps, process discovery, document automation, and also we are getting into the areas of microservices. How can we expand resiliency from a trust and scale perspective? We are working on some of these API microservices related architecture recently. On a high level, Becton Dickinson's automation portfolio, what you see on screen, we run around 5.2 million transactions every year using Automation Anywhere platform. Over the years, we started our COE way back in FY18. Like from where we were, we started with like 12 FTE savings, and then we moved on. Gradually, we kind of, right now, we are at a stage where FY22, we have saved close to 206 FTEs through Automation Anywhere platform and across the automation ecosystem, where we use orchestration technologies, some AI/ML technologies, and RPA technologies. Last 2 years, FY21 and 22, our cumulative FTE savings have been 145 and 206, and also we are close to 5.2 million transactions that we are running in production every year. What you see on screen is again overall automation portfolio by regions, and how many bots we retired, how many bots we retained, and what is the transaction success looking like, and then what is the total FTE benefit. We keep emphasizing on the Power BI screen, what I've been showing last screen and on this screen is because we use this as a platform for really measuring the ROI, right? Like the topic of this meeting, beyond ROI, goes with how deep you can track every single automation, to what level of benefit each of these automation is driving, and automation by process area, automation by regions, automation by functions and segments. We really dissect the automations into different buckets so that we can really measure the ROI based on that particular function. Today, overall, we have like 350 to 380 bots running in production. When I say bots, we are talking about end-to-end process, right? Submitting a claims to Mckesson is a bot for us. Submitting a claim for Cardinal Health is a bot. Handling complaints for infusion pump is a bot. That is what we describe what a bot is. The business problem, what we are going to talk today, is specifically around complaints handling of our medication management business solution. Just like any other organization, right, like any other medtech industry, BD's product portfolio range from interventional, where we make products like urology care, we make product like peripheral interventions, and then on the medication management, we make MMS, medication anesthesia systems, and then even on the R&D side, on the life sciences, we make products relating to peripheral and some of the R&D related functions for clinical trials. So overall, when you look at the product portfolio of Becton Dickinson, just like any other medtech industry, the amount of complaints that we receive and how we process these complaints is very, very critical for our business. And the amount of complaints that we receive every day, one business unit, if I'm talking about MMS, Medication Management Business Unit, we receive complaints, over 2,000 complaints every day. Not all of these complaints are really complaints, but based on our regulations and FDA, we have to treat them as a complaint. You have to intake some of these inquiries as a complaints, and then intake, investigate, create an MDR, medical device record, look for your medical device history, and then actually file the complaint to FDA. The amount of complaints that we receive are mostly large volumes of unstructured data, high percentage of missing information, where sometimes patient information is missing, sometimes hospital information is missing. A lot of information, what we miss, based on that, we have to take some actions on what is the next step in the complaints handling process. And then most of these tasks are very repetitive. It involves a lot of human judgment. And large number of events that occur are very critical to health, patient health, right? Some of the bots that I'm going to describe later in the slides, we use Automation Anywhere bots to kind of detect if a particular complaint has associated patient death or not. And if there are associated patient death, you take a different AER, active event reporting route, and if not, take a different route to actually file and process the complaint. So large number of these events occur in a large volume of data sets, and there is a high cost of operations to manage and maintain this volume of data, because every single event or every single complaint that we receive is very critical for us to record, report, document, and then actually conduct an investigation and report to FDA. So today we don't have a lot of data analytics to focus on the business outcomes. So we built an ecosystem where our automation ecosystem will interact with patient, distributors, hospitals, nurses, and physicians to have a kind of a central platform to intake product complaints, where when you look at the product complaint process, it at a L2 or a L3 level, it can get a little complex when it comes to what does your product complaint intake mechanism looking like? How are you going to investigate this complaint? What is your decision tree? What is the, just like any other process automation solution, there are, you take a process, I'm going to automate the process, is very simple than done, because within a process you will have 5 to different variations, branches of the process, and especially something like medical device complaints handling, the branches are pretty large, where you have to take decisions based on a specific AER event or a specific patient or a specific distributor. A lot of different branches do occur when it comes to how are we going to manage and report the complaint. So for intake, for adverse event reporting, for decision tree, and how are you going to investigate the complaint and search for the medical device record in your SAP system, in your TrackWise system, and then a lot of back-end systems where you have to search for this information. All of that, we have built a Automation Anywhere bot along with a process orchestration solution, and also with another AI ML solution to make this happen. So overall, we have today, when you look at the benefits and realization part of this automation, we, as I mentioned earlier, today we handle close to 32,000 complaints intake in the past 1 month, 32,000 complaints that we receive, we process that through this automation solution that we created, and then 30,000 complaints for the decision tree, and then around 30,000 complaints for the investigation. So when it comes to benefits and realization, right, we start with like a blanket term, right, like for complex processes like this, we do a value mapping exercise of how much does an associate today take to process intake. Today, when we started this exercise, it was around 25 to 30 minutes. 30 minutes to perform a complaint intake, 30 minutes to perform a complaint investigation, 30 minutes to perform an MDR and a closure. And when I say 30 minutes, some of these things are health impacting, patient impacting activities. We cannot say like this is redundant or this is not important. So we started working backwards, right? We started with 30 minutes for investigation, 30 minutes for MDR, 30 minutes for intake. How are we going to really digitize this process and create this automation solution? And we, after deploying the automation solution with RPA, AI/ML, and a couple of other technologies, we were successful in reducing the 30 minutes of investigation to 10 to 15 minutes. But that 15 minutes does not mean that the entire 15 minutes is just processed by automation. Due to FDA requirement, before a closure or before handing down a particular complaint investigation to the next phase of the process, a human should be involved. That is a requirement at the FDA level. So after processing these complaints at intake and investigation, we digitized this process, enhanced it, and brought it down to 30 minutes has been brought down to 15 minutes. But that 15-minute do have a delta of manual review, right? Say 8 to 9 minutes of automation solution. The rest of the 4 minutes is still a manual review. So we still use AI/ML, and we have a process orchestration technology and RPA technology to see how we can reduce that 4 minutes further down. That is an ongoing process, but each of these complaints at a granular level, at the lowest denominator of a process, we track down and find out what are the opportunities to decrease 30 minutes to, say, 7 minutes or 8 minutes. And future plans, right, like when we are talking about this particular automation solution that you saw in the previous slide, we realized $9 to $10 million in P&L just because of that automation last year. We displaced and dispositioned close to 150 associates. Most of the associates are a part of our contractors and vendors who were processing these complaints. So we did see a huge amount of success for that particular business unit, where we could, in P&L, in the next year's SOW with a vendor, we could save like easily $9 to $10 million, but this is just for one business and one product line. We are creating a roadmap how we can extend this across all of the other business units and create a complaints handling platform or a complaints handling solution for BDX, where we are seeing a potential value of close to $98 million of savings just through automation of complaints handling solution. Future plans, right? Today, our automation is very reactive, right? Like you get a demand, you work on a demand, you create a technology, technology that is, today we have a technology that is very elastic, that can automatically scale up and scale down in an Azure environment. But still, we are very, very reactive to automation. We don't have a proactive way of looking at automation as an end-to-end solution. How can we be very intentional and take a conscious decision to move away from reactive to proactive automation is one of our goals. And then we are also like, we have like close to 350 automations in production, like processing claims, and then for COVID diagnostics, the Veritor, BD is a key player in the COVID diagnostics, where we do Veritor shipments through RPA bots. How can we digitize all of this in a bot marketplace internal to BD, where we can democratize or create a commodity out of all of these bots, so that one business unit, medication business management business unit, can use the bots created by medical delivery solutions. Medical delivery solution can use the bots created by pharma systems. So that is the kind of approach that we are taking in 2023, where we are creating a digital marketplace where we are publishing all of our bots and solutions, so that we can kind of create a democratized environment. And also, we started already with the human-machine partnership or a human-machine alliance. It is working out really well, but that is the kind of state we want to be, where we can establish a kind of a end-to-end human-machine alliance, where every worker has a digital counterpart who can support and manage the automation. And of course, from an accelerant's perspective, we are very intentional about expanding our RPA solution with AI/ML, with cognitive technologies, with chatbots and process orchestration solutions. We are creating an ecosystem. We are not confined to one technology, and we don't feel that one technology will solve all the problems. With a combination of APIs to hyperautomation to cognitive technologies, that is one of our important accelerant for our growth in this area. And also automation goals, right? Like one important aspect when it comes to realizing the benefit, one automation is not equal to one bot or one employee, right? Always one automation or one bot is equal to 0.25 FTE or 0.35 FTE. We need to really have a kind of a business automation goal of medication management business unit. What is your goal for next year? Do you want to save 5% of efficiency next year or 15% of efficiency next year? That is the kind of approach that we are taking to define the business automation goals. And also, we are very actively working towards shift left automation, where we are expanding our citizen development framework. We are creating a standard community of practice within Becton Dickinson, where we can get all of the citizen developers enrolled into this program. We are creating a simple subscription model to enroll into the citizen development program, and then we are going to expand that footprint of automation through this shift left automation approach. I think that is all I have, but anyone have any questions? I think someone has a mic to pass around for questions.
Hey, thank you for all of this. So what I understand, the specific use case that we were discussing, it is time save and cycle time improvement, correct? Do you have any other examples which are capturing more softer benefits? So cycle time improvement is measurable, so is time savings. Whether we convert that into dollars or not, like that is a different discussion. But do you have an examples of softer benefits, and how do you, even if not quantify, but how do you qualify those? How do we capture these?
Good.
Thank you.
No, this particular automation, right? This particular automation have all of that soft benefits. Coming back to our title of this presentation, Beyond ROI, especially around the medical device industry, compliance, accuracy is very important, right? Though we are saving FTE and time savings here, what is more important for us is accuracy. We are yes, $9 million, what we saved is very important for us, but what is driving better value is what kind of accuracy and compliance that we drive. In the past, we did have a couple of FDA observation and couple of products, and some of these things it is going to have a much higher cost impact So answer to your question, risk, compliance, accuracy, and also from a customer experience or a patient experience perspective, those are the softer benefits that we can try to track with respect to this solution.
Hello. Splendid presentation, by the way. You mentioned compliance accuracy, for example. Do you all make any attempt or plan to make any attempt to quantify that? Maybe what, fines, settlements, things of this nature is just what I'm thinking of off the top of my head.
Right.
Thank you.
So I cannot go back to the previous slide, but when it comes to the dashboard, what you saw, we track an important field called transaction success rate, right? We define a particular complaints handling transaction as a business error or a process error or a technical bot error. So depending on these error rates, we do calculate the accuracy of the transaction. Like if it is a business error, we still continue to refine that transaction at an AI/ML level to see what are the areas where certain fields are missing in that complaints, how can we improve that? If it is a bot error where a bot did not do what it is supposed to do, how can we improve that accuracy of the bot at that level? So most of our automations, all of these 3 or 4 automations that I discussed here have at a very granular rate, we can define the accuracy of each and every transaction, and we have a way of measuring these success rate of the transaction at a very granular level, and then we kind of elevate that transaction success rate and then compare it with the manual activities, and then we'll figure out like how to actually achieve that accuracy rate.
Hi, here. So my question is regarding the intake process. For an intake process to take place and which is customer facing, the data comes in, it will be in different formats, and there has to be a enterprise level standardization that needs to take place, right? So what did you do with regards to standardization? And was that a factor to take into consideration when you're implementing the process? Should we go for this process or not? The standardization is too huge to do, we should not go in or something.
Right. So this particular automation that I described earlier, it is only for one particular product and one particular business line. So the intake was specifically from ServiceMax or one particular communication channel. But on a roadmap that I showed on the last slide, our roadmap that we are building is on a global level where we are creating an omni-channel complaints handling experience where we do receive complaints from emails, we receive complaints through voice, we receive complaints through chats, and then ServiceMax and a lot of other technologies. We are trying to consolidate all of these technologies into one layer, bring that process standardization on what are the 15 things that you need to create a complaint, and then work backwards and see like what are the different technologies we need to make it happen. Do we need a process orchestration technology? Do we need a cognitive technology and an RPA technology? We bring all of that together and then put together a plan for how can we create that omni-channel experience for complaints reporting. Work is in progress, but we have not made much progress there.
Hey, this is Chandra. So I have a couple of questions. So when you said 5% of the bots were retired, right? Is it because of that process not needed, or is automation anywhere used as a short-term solution, or you found a better technology to replace that process? That is one question. And question 2 is, what are the other than ROI, right? What are the other factors that are taken into consideration during the input process? The additional question to what he has asked is, other than ROI, right? What are the other factors that are considered while building a bot? And in the end-to-end, you mentioned that there are different technologies used other than automation anywhere, right? So what is the percentage of automation anywhere software that was used in the end-to-end use case? Thank you.
I would say, to answer to your last question, I would say 60 to 70% of the solution or the automation ecosystem that I talked about is only automation anyway. To your first question, retained, or how are you retaining the bot or archiving some of the bots? We have been very intentional and conscious about tracking our success not with number of bots, right? When constantly we reevaluate what is the transaction runtime, right? Like one of the key metrics that I shared earlier, FY22, our bots ran for 171,000 hours, 5.2 million transaction. If that number of hours is reduced for a particular bot, we do reach out to the bot owner, and we do question like what is the reason, if there is a business process change, or are you implementing a different solution, and then we make a decision whether to retain or archive that particular bot. But there have been 5 to 10%, I would say 5% of the automation solutions that have been deployed just as an interim solutions, right? Like sometimes in an employee payroll, hey, there have been discrepancy in few cents for a particular group of employees. We need to create a bot so that the next payroll can run. Something like that, I don't see a need for running that bot continuously, so we do retain that. And for your second question, for this particular solution, and for most of the other solutions, 350 automations that we have built, mostly FTE benefit has been the only criteria for our implementation. But when it comes to complaints handling and security and compliance has been another major factor for our for measuring our success. But it has to go through a patient experience, interview with physicians, pharmacists, and couple of other external ecosystem to really measure that rate of success when it comes to complaints handling or customer experience, but we have not gone very far with that.
I guess you go first. Okay. That's question.
Hi, my question is, can I go ahead? Yeah, so my question is, beyond ROI, we have to size the RPA use cases. At B&D, what is the sizing mechanism that you guys follow, and how it is contributing directly to your beyond ROI, like FTE savings, AST savings, other metrics? Is it you guys follow the step-by-step mechanism for sizing the RPA use cases, or any other factors that you consider for the sizing the RPA use cases?
So we started this journey way back in 2016, 2017, right? We have a very strong intake mechanism for RPA and sizing. We develop and deploy bots in production based on 21 CFR Part 11 compliance. That is our requirement, otherwise we cannot even deploy these bots into production. So as a requirement from 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, all of our processes are driven by the rules and regulations of what we need from an FDA perspective. Before a particular bot comes in or a particular automation request comes into our pipeline, we give a t-shirt sizing. Hey, this is small, this is medium, this is large or extra large. How many number of hours required to deploy these bots, and what is the ROI benefit of each of these bots? We do take decisions on, hey, it doesn't make sense to automate this. It doesn't make sense to automate a point 1 or 0.02 FTE in an Asia Pac, because you will be investing more on the development of the bot than actually doing the work there. So we have a strong framework where we determine the sizing and how to calculate the ROI, and also around the softer benefits of how are we going to track the risk compliance, and if there is a patient involved in the automation or if it is an external facing automation. We have a strong framework that is going through at the process assessment level.
Thanks, Subbu. I think you highlighted really well in terms of the use case, and a lot of people in the audience are building processes and automating. I think if you can build a bit more on what you just shared around regulatory and the rigor that's required from the FDA perspective, and a lot of the processes in the example you even shared, where there's validation and protocols that have to be followed relative to the protocol in 21 CFR. It would be good to hear it on the rigor aspect.
Yeah, thanks, Adil. So when it comes to 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, anyone in the healthcare or the medical device industry will know one important factor for a 21 CFR Part 11 is traceability. Every bot, 350 automations that we have, can be traced to one particular unique identifier with a name, which automation is running where, what access these automation have, who approved these automation access requests, and who's going to be continuing to be the owner of these automation, and who is going to support and maintain these automations. Before even we starting an automation request, we spend a lot of time creating that traceability metrics or a process assessment form where we identify the automation owner. Does this automation have FDA impact, GXP impact? Does it have patient in line with this automation? Who is going to be using this automation? Or is it something at the manufacturing site, or is it at the quality impact? All of these questions are asked upstream before even starting the automation. And before even starting the development of the automation, we size the bot. We make sure the automation owner is agreeing to the cost of the bot, operations of the bot, and we get a formal sign-off in DocuSign saying that this is the bot development process is going to look like, this is the access for this bot, and we don't grant more or less access. Appropriate access needed to do the work is all granted. Have a complete document before even starting the bot. And once starting to development of the bot, a typical SDLC FDA requirement is like pre-testing is required, post-testing is required, how many steps are required for one particular requirement ID, and then how are we going to trace across one requirement ID to another requirement ID. All of that pre-testing and post-testing, all of that is done. The process may sound cumbersome, but in the last 3 to 4 years, we have deployed so many bots, and our cycle time for deploying one bot is less than 8 to 10 weeks. Once the process is kind of defined at the lowest denominator, and once the process assessment and all of these initial shaping exercise is done, we deliver a bot within 8 to 10 weeks in production.
Hello. In your slides, I saw that you had mentioned about downloadable digital employees. I was curious what that means.
I didn't hear you.
In your slide, you mentioned something like downloadable digital employee. I was just curious what that means.
So, like processing a claim, right? If we have to process a claim, we have a code base that is an RPA code base where logging into SAP, executing this transaction code, go for McKesson customer, process these claims in this particular order. Is it a delayed shipment or whatever be the claim submission going to be? The downloadable digital employee is a concept where we can digitize this work, create a marketplace and deploy the RPA code base so that some other business unit can use this RPA code base not for Mckesson but for Medline or Owens & Minor. So they can really download this code base, and with some minimal customization, instead of reinventing the wheel for creating claims automation, they can really download this code base, and with some minimal customization, they can run the bot. That is the concept that we are getting into, and to a fair level, we have been successful on that.
Can you hear me? One last question. I also saw you mention something about conversational AI. What application are you using for that?
We are using a different product. We are not using automation anywhere, but we are using a different product for conversational AI. Say, in BD.com, if you go tracking an order, right? Like today, BD is a very conventional organization, very traditional organization in the industry for over 125 years. It is grew out of mergers and acquisition. We had like 80 to 100 different phone numbers for customer service. We consolidated all of that in that omni-channel customer experience. We use conversational AI to kind of manage the order status or file a complaint or create a product inquiry. We use a chatbot solution in BD.com where we can provide all of these customer service transactions in BD.com. In some cases, we are also exploring the possibilities of integrating a conversational AI with an RPA solution, like say for tracking your order or printing your shipment label. There are opportunities for you to where customer can enter the details, and RPA bot can get into SAP, fetch the label, and then present it to the customer in a PDF format right in the conversational AI.
Questions?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Just curious how you go about developing your benefit realization models. Is that something you do with a bot in, say, Power BI, or is it something that you're doing in Excel? And then the second question is, is your COE self-funded, or do you guys allocate out costs, say, based on a per sprint basis or something to that effect?
So for your first question, we use Power BI. We use Power BI for all of our value realization. But stressing on the value realization, right, like the most important factor of realizing the value is not just a technology component. There is a huge business component involved. As I said, one bot is never going to be 1 FTE. It is going to be 0.25 FTE. We can present the numbers and details in Power BI saying that for complaints intake, you saved 15 minutes. That is the farthest technology can go. Business or the business leader should take the responsibility to restack and realign the work at their center level or at the customer associates level to kind of say, you saved 0.25, you saved 0.25, you can be displaced to 0.5 related in other work stream. That is a very manual activity, and it is a human decision. So we use Power BI and a combination of business leadership engagement to get there. And to your other question on self-funded model, I would say that is one of the biggest success for us. Right, like without that, we wouldn't have survived for a long time. Most of our bots are completely self-funded. We have a very good mechanism to kind of shape the bot between small, medium, large, have a chargeback to our business units, and then have a chargeback mechanism at the end of the year. And then we do run a monthly statement on what is our chargeback for that particular month, and we have a yearly statement that we present to our financial partners saying that we spent initially $2 million for our vendors to develop this automation for FY22. Right now, our chargeback is 2.3. We do have that strong mechanism around chargebacks.
For this great session. In full transparency, my name is Sana. I am the AE for the Becton Dickinson account. So I'm going to ask a question that would help us close it out, if we're all okay with that. So Subbu, you mentioned, I'm going back to what Adil had raised about compliance and regulatory, which I know you mentioned, BD being a conservative organization. And then this last question that the gentleman asked about, proving it from a financial perspective in terms of chargeback. I wanted to ask you a question about resiliency from a personal business perspective and role perspective, because I think a number of us are seeing in the industry that in beating the automation hype curve and in realizing those benefits, there's both the element of patience and as well as mindset to keep that work going. So given the resiliency BDs had to have through leadership change, how did you and your team manage through that?
Right. I think it is because of the team, I would say. Right, like as Adil was mentioning earlier today, the most important thing is the passion. Right, like the entire team is very passionate about the technology. And it is not about, we didn't say RPA is the only solution, and we explored a kind of an ecosystem. We try to integrate RPA with conversational AI. We try to incorporate RPA with an AI/ML solution, with a process orchestration solution. And we have been very intentional about not a vertical growth, but a horizontal growth, right? We shouldn't be looking at one technology. It is about automation as a solution, automation as an ecosystem, providing value to patients and customers and hospitals. That is the kind of approach that we took. That is on the people and the technology part. We never deviated from our processes. We were very stringent, and that is a requirement from our validation and a compliance perspective. We cannot afford to, that is a different topic, but we were very stringent about what processes we should follow. Say we have like 350, 380 bots in production today. If anybody in the team have the access to find out which particular bot is doing what particular action, what user ID, what roles and what SAP roles, what applications, all of that is very transparent in a central location, so that we maintain that process very stringent, so that we don't deviate from the process. I think those are the key elements of resiliency.
And then not deviating from core principle of process. Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much. Any other questions before we close it out? No? Okay. Oh.
Thank you for your presentation. It's clear to me that the robots improve the patient experience. Do you use any metric in order to measure the client's satisfaction, like Net Promoter Score, for example?
We don't have that today. There are a couple of automations that we are working with the marketing organization, BD marketing function, where we are creating new metrics around customer experience and NPS and all of that, but we are not there yet.